Hey guys, it's JJ and we're back for video number 2. Now, I've had a lot of people say, my hardest part is I can't get into frickin' orbit. All right, so we finished off video number 1 with 120.5 science, 205,000. All right, our first thing we're going to do is right-click our tracking station and upgrade this. This gives us patched conics. Remember when we looked at our map on our first launch and you could only see how high you were going to go? This tells us how long we get to there. All right, so we've unlocked that. We've got tracking station level 2 now. Let's go into our science here. We've got 120 to spend here. Now this one's pretty good stuff for later. Now we're going to unlock this now just because we can. So let's unlock our stability. And let's unlock our general rocketry. This gives us our first thumper, but more importantly, it gives us a bigger fuel tank. And we've only got 82 left, and these next ones cost 45 science each. We're going to unlock advanced rocketry because we want the bigger fuel tanks, okay? Bigger fuel tanks, much bigger. And most importantly, it gives us our next thing, the LV909 Terrier liquid fuel engine. This one's beauty for any time you need to maneuver around in space. Okay, if you've got the expansion DLC for Kerbals, you also get the FLTX 220 fuel tank. So let's do that. And okay, let's leave the facility. Let's go over to our mission control over here. Click this. Now these are going to change. They're going to be different from every single person. It's just random. Okay, this one, orbiting Kerbin. This one is the most common one. I get people asked, how do I do my first orbit? Well, let's accept that. And let's go build our first orbiter. All right, so as with everything, we're starting with our command pod. And as I said, for me personally, I grab it, put that window between me and the door, just so we know which way we're launching. Okay, now for a safety feature on this one, let's put a decoupler here just to make sure we're light enough to get home. Now, depending on if you're playing with the expansion or not, okay, if you're playing with the expansion, our next step is to take this FLTX 220 and put this on here. Then we're going to put on a Terrier, a LV909. Then we're going to go with a coupler. And we just unlocked these big fuel tanks. Let's put 3 of them on. Let's put 3 of these bad boys on. As I said before, my favorite lift is the LVT-45 swivel. All right, there we go. Let's put on some fins. All right, well, throw some fins on here. Now this is the basic. We can change up our staging, whatever. This one right here, this will get you into atmosphere. This will allow you to orbit. Okay, on the ground, the delta V is huge here. It says we've got 2353 on the ground. But Kerbal Engineer tells me that once I launch, I should be able to make it. Like most people like using that 3000 delta V before you launch. This says 2353, but I know in atmosphere I'm going to have lots. So this is build number 1 if you've got the expansion. Now if you don't have the expansion, take this off. There we go. What I'm going to do is, if you do not have the expansion, we need to basically weigh around 1.2 tons, 1.25 tons, and we need about 99 fuel for this. So if you don't have the expansion, take one of the littlest tanks, take an FLT 100 and FLT 200, and put this on. All right, so we've pretty much got the same delta V. Now, either one of these can make it to space, orbit, and make it back. Let's call this one 3.0. This is without the expansion. And let's save this one and let's launch it. Now remember that patched conics we got from upgrading the tracking station. This is going to pay in huge. You'll notice this one, I didn't put any science on it. Well, this one we're just trying to focus, number one, on getting to space, and number two, making our first orbit. Okay, there's plenty of time for science later, because this one, our goal here to orbit Kerbin is going to be reward enough for this one. So let's go with hit T for SAS. We're going to hit Z or Z for full throttle. And here we go. 3, 2, 1, launch. Now this one I'm going to go straight up in the air until I'm at 100 meters a second here. And then I'm going to tip over the first little ring here 10 degrees towards 90, heading directly east here once we hit 100 meters a second. Here we go, 100 meters a second. Let's tip over, and we're going to hold this until we hit 10,000 meters. Okay. Now, going at full throttle here, we're going to overspeed. But if you click over here, look, it can tell you how many seconds left to burn. So at 250, I'm cutting back 250 meters a second. I'm cutting back to 2/3 throttle here and waiting for that 10,000 meters. It says we can burn for 67 seconds at this speed. Now, we just wait for 10,000 at that 10-degree mark. Now, as soon as we hit 10,000, I'm going over to the 45-degree circle here at 90 and going back to full throttle once again. Now, we're going to hold this 45-degree angle until our apoapsis. Okay, I got to go up here and turn all these off. I hate seeing the airfields. So we're going to go till our apoapsis says 45,000. Now our surface speed is going fast. Let's cut her back once again to that 2/3 throttle at 45,000. I'm going to click on my nav ball, turn it to orbit, and start chasing our prograde. And we're going to chase this prograde until we get, oh, what happened there? We ran out of fuel on our stage. Well, let's dump that, go back to full throttle with this one. No, don't need full throttle. This one can still go at 2/3 throttle until we get our magical 72,000. 72,000 is the magical number I use. Magical number. Here we go. Once we get 72,000, that allows us to fall. Now, we're floating up here. It says we still have 1889 meters a second. I know what's going to happen here. I've done this a few times. So I'm going to put my, there we go, right at about this 5-degree, just 5-degree on 90. And now what I'm waiting for is 20 seconds, T minus 20 to apoapsis. Then I'm going to burn at this 5-degree at 90. So the important thing is we don't want the apo to get behind us, but we don't want it to get way in front of us. Otherwise, we're pushing out. We're not making an orbit. Orbit is all about speed. You need between 2265 and 2300 meters a second to achieve orbit. So we're holding at this 5 degrees above the horizon mark, and we're waiting for 20 seconds, T minus 20 seconds to Kerbin's apoapsis. That's why we unlocked that tracking station, level 2, so we'd be able to see this T minus number. Now at T minus 20, we're going to start burning again. T minus 20, here we go. Let's start burning. And we just keep looking at this, and if this number starts going up, we've got troubles, right? Just keep looking at it. Nice. We're at that 5-degree mark above the horizon. This just keeps us from getting into too much trouble. Now if it starts climbing, see how that T minus number is going up? Well, cut throttle again. This time we'll wait till T minus 10. As soon as it starts going up again, we stop. So T minus 10, let's burn again. Well, it's going up again. Let's take her down to T minus 5. And burn again. Well, she's going up. Got to pay attention to her nose a bit here. Okay, how about this? T minus 0 and burn. We'll let it go up to T minus 5 again. There we go. Cut throttle, keeping it on this 5-degree mark. Just keep burping it. Remember that we need that 2265 to 2300. This is, I'm just using Z and X. Turn your throttle on, turn your throttle off. Here we go. Wait until 0. Now the closer you get to orbital speed, each burn, we can actually go right over to the horizon now and just burn. Keep it on the horizon. It always wants to lift a bit. All right, so here we go. Waiting for 0 again. We're almost at orbit. Almost at orbit here. So we're at 0. We burn. Bingo. We've just made our first orbit. All right, now since we made this thing only to be able to get into space, can we do crew reports? No, we've already got ones well in space. The one thing we can do is EVA reports. Now, depending how much you want to do, you can do an EVA report and keep it. Right-click your ship, store the experiment. You can sit out here because you're not speeding up, you're not slowing down, you're in an orbit. Now, every time you cross a different landmass, can we do another EVA? Keep that. Right-click the ship, take data, store data. Now we're over grasslands. Can we do another EVA report? Keep it. Right-click the ship, take, store. See, with Kerbal Engineer Redux, it tells me the different biomes we're over. So we know we've got water, shores, and grasslands. Now, you cannot time compress when your Kerbal's out on the ladder. You can't. But if you were worried about getting science, that's the best way to do it, is only from these EVA reports. Now, we've got these new world first milestones. Not bad. We made a little bit more money. We've finished our contract. We've got our Kerbal in orbit, which is our most important thing. And yeah, so we made money. Well, now we can board again. And oh, what's this say? We got to take data, store experiments. Well, we're doubled up on something. We're doubled up on something, or we've already done something. So let's board. It's going to turf whatever we already got. It was probably over shores because we'd already done that one, right? Well, now it's time to come back. And this is where it can get a little bit goofy. Now, we did add this extra coupler here. With this one, we're going to have issues coming back. We know we're going to have issues. So let's flip over until we're at this SAS here, till we're at our retrograde here. And I always like keeping the blue above and the dirt below. All right, so if we look at our map, we can see it'll change for each of you. But all you have to do is burn retrograde, and you don't want to come down too fast. Just burn it down to your periapsis is coming down, right? Well, you can bring it right down if you want to, but then we're definitely going to need to turf our turf this one stage. Okay, so this is slowing us right down, but we're still way up in the air. We're going to pick up some nasty speed here. So let's jettison this, hit our space bar. Now it's just this for the return trip. Anytime you're trying to control with SAS, you're burning electrical charge, okay? So we just need to make it home safely, so we're going to 4 times speed. We are going to pick up some nasty speed on this, but from low orbit, you don't need heat shields. Now, if you're returning from different places in space, yes. If you're using the expansion and you were using that FLTX 220, you can keep that on because it's actually it slows you down a bit. If you keep stuff on and you're burning on reentry, what's the worst that happens? Well, you burn off your engine, you burn off your fuel tank. So here we are, we're coming back in. We're picking up speed because we're dropping altitude now. Got to try to keep pointed. So we're going butt first in here, right? And now we just want to keep pointed at our retrograde icon so it doesn't burn off our parachute on reentry. Let's speed this up till we get a burn. We'll get a burn starting about now, I think, 45,000. There we go. So here we come. And if you have to, slow down to 1 times because it's going to try to spin off of here occasionally. Sometimes it doesn't, usually not with with just the pod. Now we're coming in slow enough, we're not actually heating up too bad here. And this video is going to be super short. And we're just going to call this one My First Orbit. Real simple, real fast craft that you can unlock fairly early on. You can do it before this amount of science, but at this amount of science, especially with that LV909 Terrier engine, it's pretty much guaranteed. So we've slowed down enough. We're still at 12,000. We're losing speed constantly. Let's put out that parachute and let's go to 4 times speed and bring Jeb home. There we go. And this one, we're above sea level. That's one thing we're going to notice on this is we are above sea level. When we land, it's going to still say we're up in the air. Now, here's one thing I wanted to show you guys. If you hit C, this shows you the inside of your capsule, okay? And the important one here is right over here is the radar altitude. This is above ground level. This one over here is above sea level, okay? So as you can see, this one says we're about 750 up. This one says we're about 325 up, and 325 is the correct one. Let's hit C again, go back, and we're going to speed up time till we're about 50 meters above terrain, not sea level. So here we go. I have this on Kerbin Engineer Redux. Tells me. Now, we're going to be landing at 400 meters above sea level. So if you don't have Kerbin Engineer Redux, you will want to hit C for your landing to see how high you are above ground, right? Because this one says we're 406 above sea level, and this one says we're on the ground. That's your radar altitude. All right, let's recover this one. And that is your first orbital ship, and that's how you get into orbit. Here we go. Let's. Ooh, look, got 26 science. That's not too bad. From that's just doing the EVA reports from the different biomes. So let's return this. Jeb advanced to level 1, which is really awesome because now he gets prograde and retrograde hold. Anyway, guys, that is video number 2, how to do my first orbit. Thanks for watching.